Nobody talks about the double standard hiding in plain sight on national television, and today that changes. If you watch Caitlin Clark drop a triple-double last week and then flip on your favorite debate show only to hear grown men talk about a lady with a homemade sign in section 114, you already know something's broken. Buckle up, because we're about to expose 10 straight shows, 30 points a night, and somehow 0 highlights. Let's start with the Iowa question, because everybody wants to pretend her college program was some cushy tour through the Big Ten. Iowa wasn't a mid-major hiding in the cornfields. This is a program that's been knocking on Final Four doors since the 80s, a real basketball address, not a junior college pit stop. But here's the twist nobody wants to admit. Even a strong program can leave a superstar unprepared for the version of basketball waiting on the other side of the draft. Every single night in the WNBA, she has to be the engine. She can't have a quiet 6-point game and still walk out with a win-the-way-a-role player at a blue blood program might. She carries the shot totals, the turnovers, the fourth-quarter possessions, and the blame every night, alone. And somehow that reality gets buried under a mountain of noise about sunglasses and grandmas. Now here's where it gets wild. 10 shows. 10. During a stretch where this woman averaged 29 points and 9 assists a game, shooting 55% from the field, 46 from 3, 90% from the line, not one single highlight made air. Instead, the conversation drifted to another player's popularity spike, to fans holding up posters, to an older woman planted in the front row like she was part of a marketing campaign. A 45-point double-double, something that had literally never happened in league history, and the next day's show didn't even bring on the guy who'd been covering her the closest. Not invited. Radio silence. Meanwhile, a 32-assist masterclass gets buried under a segment about crowd shots. The only game in 3 weeks where she wasn't at her best, 19 points, 10 assists, 4th best guard on the floor that night. Suddenly, that's the one clip that makes the highlight reel. Funny how that works. And it's not new. Go back to the Atlanta game. They waited for one bad quarter, one shaky stretch, before basketball finally became the topic. Up until then, it was referees, technical fouls, sideline drama, anything but the fact she was averaging 27 and 7. The second she has a rough night, all of a sudden she's getting torn apart, getting the she needs to be schooled treatment, while 3 weeks of elite production sat completely ignored. Somebody on set is going to call this gaslighting, and honestly, that's fair, because the goalpost keeps sliding. A guard from a different team goes 14 for 14 at the free throw line, and nobody blinks. Clark gets to the line more than usual one night, and suddenly it's a full-blown conspiracy about the officials tilting the floor. You can't have it both ways. Either free throw rate is a story or it isn't. Now let's get into the real debate, the one buried under all this noise. Is she actually being set up to fail by the way people talk about her? Or is this just what happens to every generational talent the moment real resistance shows up? Think about it like this. Some athletes go through their entire rise without ever facing a true test. Everybody wants to be their friend. Nobody wants to be the one to knock them down a peg. And so they float through untouched until one day they run into somebody who genuinely doesn't care about their reputation. That's the moment you find out who's actually built for it. It doesn't mean the player wasn't talented. It means they were sheltered, whether they realize it or not. Players get exposed to real competition, and either it forces an adjustment, or it exposes a gap that was always there. Look at how Kobe Bryant's own path was engineered so he'd always be the guy everywhere he went, right up until the league gave him a brutal reality check. He adjusted. That's the separator. So here's the real question hanging over this entire season. Does she even see what everybody else sees? Because it's entirely possible she's completely unbothered by all of it, convinced the pieces around her need to change rather than her own game. Or maybe she's fully aware and grinding through it. Either way, none of the noise from the outside actually decides that. What decides it is what happens between the lines, possession by possession. But let's not pretend the noise doesn't matter anymore, because we're not living in an era where only the coach's voice and the local beat writer's column shape a young athlete's head. Today, it's an endless stream of validation telling her she's done nothing wrong, that she's a victim of everyone else's shortcomings, that she never needs to grow. That kind of noise didn't exist for the legends before her. If Michael Jordan or Kobe were coming up in this environment, even they would have felt some pull from it. Not enough to break them, but enough to matter. And that's the tightrope. She's got nearly 4 million followers cheering her on, and an equally loud crowd looking for any excuse to tear her down. Everybody's shouting. All of it is noise. The signal is what happens on the court and who she actually chooses to listen to. The second she starts engaging with either side, she risks losing that signal entirely. The best version of her shuts it all out completely, headphones on, noise gone, just the game. Now let's talk leadership, because this is where the real disagreement lives. Some people see zero problems off the court. No locker room drama, no reported issues with teammates, nothing but pure production. But others are asking a tougher question. Is she always going to struggle translating individual brilliance into winning basketball? Because talent alone doesn't fix a roster that can score 100 every single night and give up just as many. And that's the real story with this Indiana team. They can put up triple digits against almost anybody. They also give up historic offensive rebound counts and can't stay in front of anybody on the other end. This isn't purely a superstar problem, it's a structural one. Ball screen defense that can't decide whether to blitz or drop, bigs losing containment, guards getting cooked off the dribble. Against the league's best, a team like the Minnesota Lynx, that gap becomes impossible to hide. Best coached team in the league, for starter caliber players coming off the bench, a defense that suffocates you possession after possession. When Indiana's stars are cooking, they can hang with anybody for stretches. But crunch time, when it's spacing and stops that decide the game, that's when the depth gap and the defensive gap both show up at once. And here's the piece that gets lost in every single argument about her ceiling. Defense wins in the moments that matter most. You can have an off shooting night and still win if you can lock somebody down. But if you consistently can't stop the other team's best player, eventually it catches up to you. There are real, visible stretches where the effort on that end isn't there, flat-footed, not boxing out, more spectator than stopper. And when your best player treats that side of the ball as optional, it gives the rest of the roster permission to do the same. So where does this actually land? Not in the takes, not in the highlight packages that mysteriously disappeared during a hot streak and reappeared during a rough patch, but on the floor when the games that count are being played. That's the only place the real verdict gets written, and everything else, every sign in the stands, every viral moment, every manufactured storyline, is just noise fighting for attention while the real story keeps unfolding right in front of everybody who's actually willing to watch it.